Have you ever wondered why you're pulling away from the social circles you once loved? If that question stirs something deep inside, you're not alone. Many Americans in their 50s, 60s, and 70s find themselves stepping back from gatherings, not out of bitterness or apathy, but because something profound has shifted within. In this video, we're exploring 6 deep-rooted reasons why you might be avoiding others, even if you used to thrive in their company. These insights aren't just guesses. They're grounded in the real experiences of older adults who've quietly navigated this change. You need to watch until the end because this isn't just about understanding your withdrawal. It's about reclaiming your peace, embracing your wisdom, and finding grace in the space you've chosen. Each reason we uncover will offer clarity, helping you see your choices as powerful, not regretful. You'll discover why past betrayals, the craving for meaningful connection, or even the joy of your own company might be guiding your path. These revelations could shift how you view yourself, spark healing, and inspire you to honor your needs without guilt. Plus, we'll share stories like Sarah Miller's, a 71-year-old who found strength in solitude, and practical insights to carry forward. Comment, "I'm here," below to join us. And stick around. You'll leave with a renewed sense of purpose and permission to live intentionally. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Reason number 1 is the burden of past betrayals. As the years pass, we accumulate more than just memories. We collect pieces of ourselves that have been tested, stretched, and sometimes broken. These are not just memories. They are scars, deep and unyielding. Some are small, like a fleeting argument that left a bitter taste, or a disagreement that passed without much consequence. But then, there are others, far more painful. These are the breaches of trust, the wounds that were never fully healed. The moments when we allowed ourselves to be vulnerable, only to have our trust shattered, when we opened up to others, expecting to understand, but instead received betrayal. As we grow older, these wounds don't fade away. Instead, they resonate louder, echoing in the quiet spaces of our minds. At a certain age, we begin to hear those echoes more clearly, and that's when we start to shift our perspective. We no longer offer our hearts so freely. It's not that we've become resentful or bitter. No, far from it. It's just that we've learned, the hard way, that not everyone has earned the right to be close to us. And that's okay. It's wisdom, not cynicism. Take Sarah Miller, for example. She's a 71-year-old woman who once hosted weekend dinners with infectious joy. Her home was a sanctuary of laughter and lively conversations, a warm refuge for family and friends. But over time, those dinners became less frequent. Slowly, friends began to fade, and some were gone without explanation. One person broke her trust in a way that was so quiet, so subtle, that the pain was even harder to detect. Another friend disappeared completely after her husband passed away, leaving Sarah to face the loss alone. It wasn't one grand betrayal. It wasn't a single event that shattered her. No, it was a slow accumulation of small, unspoken heartaches. And now, at this stage of her life, Sarah prefers solitude to the forced smiles of company. Not because she dislikes people, quite the opposite, but because she treasures peace. She craves calm, something more real than the hollow facades people sometimes wear in social settings. Her heart has become her sanctuary, a place she now guards with a tenderness that is often misunderstood as coldness. In the later years, something beautiful and quiet happens. A shield forms around us, crafted from the weight of our experiences. It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. We've lived long enough to see the ease with which people can change, the way they can slip away without a word, and the emptiness that lingers after they're gone. And so, we begin to guard our hearts, our time, and our energy. This is not about shutting ourselves off from the world or becoming emotionally distant. It's about being discerning. It's about recognizing the worth of our souls. Older adults, especially those who have loved deeply and given freely, have often been hurt in ways that words can't capture. They've poured their love out, they've offered support without hesitation, and in return, they've faced disappointment, abandonment, and betrayal. This pattern becomes a teacher in its own right. It teaches you to slow down. It teaches you to reflect. It teaches you to retreat when something doesn't feel right. You start to notice not just what people say, but how you feel once they've left. You feel the weight of their absence more than you feel the connection when they're around. Psychologists call this relational fatigue, that overwhelming sense that maintaining relationships is no longer fulfilling, but draining. It's when the cost of connection outweighs the joy it once brought. And it's something so many older adults face, especially those who have weathered emotional hardships throughout their lives. And let me tell you, there is no shame in this. It's a testament to the depth of life you've lived. You've witnessed both the beauty of human connection and the pain of its fragility. And when you now choose solitude over companionship, it is not out of anger or resentment. It's a decision born from understanding. It's knowing that, at this point in your life, your heart is a precious gift, and not everyone deserves a place within it. So, if you find yourself pulling away from others, take a moment to honor that decision. It's not about shutting yourself off from love or connection. It's about protecting your most sacred spaces. Your heart has learned over time that it must be cherished and guarded because not everyone will treat it with the respect and care it deserves. And that's okay. It's a sign that you've learned the value of yourself. Number 2 is the longing for peace over idle chatter. As we grow older, there's a profound shift that takes place within us. A shift that redefines our relationship with noise, with meaningless chatter, and with the constant flurry of interaction that once seemed necessary to validate our presence. In our younger days, we were more willing to engage in superficial conversations, sitting through endless small talk, rumors, or words that merely served to fill the silence. There was a time when silence felt unsettling, awkward even, because we hadn't yet realized the power of quiet. We craved the noise, the constant flow of conversation, not because it held any real substance, but because it gave us something to do. It distracted us from the deeper, sometimes uncomfortable, truths that lay within ourselves. But as the years go by, that longing for noise begins to wane. The older we get, the more we start to cherish the serenity that quiet brings. It's not about disliking people, it's about appreciating something much more valuable: peace. The quiet doesn't feel like a void anymore, but rather a source of restoration. Once we discover the healing power of silence, it's difficult to trade it for shallow words, meaningless banter, or the obligatory small talk that often fills our days. We no longer feel the need to be constantly engaged in conversations that don't add value to our lives. John Carter, a 66-year-old former salesman, can attest to this shift. A man who once thrived on social interaction, known for his warm, friendly nature and his ability to converse with anyone, has gradually retreated from the constant buzz of social gatherings. These days, he's more selective about when and where he spends his time. He doesn't attend family get-togethers unless he feels truly prepared for them, and when asked why, he simply replies, "I'm done talking just to fill the air." It's not that John is seeking isolation. Far from it. What he is searching for, what many of us yearn for as we age, is meaning, sincerity, and above all, a quiet that doesn't demand performance. The older we get, the more our emotional energy becomes precious. We no longer feel the need to impress others or to fill every silence with words. The pressure to prove ourselves to the world gradually slips away, leaving room for something far more profound: an authentic connection to the present, to the people who matter, and to our inner peace. And in this phase of life, we no longer settle for conversations that only skim the surface. We crave depth, authenticity, and a raw, unfiltered exchange that feels genuine. If we can't find those kinds of conversations, we're often more than willing to spend the evening alone with a good book and a warm drink rather than surround ourselves with voices that leave us feeling more disconnected than when we entered. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This isn't a retreat from the world. It's an intentional step back, a conscious decision to protect our emotional well-being. It's about choosing who we spend our time with, how we engage with the world around us, and prioritizing our peace over empty exchanges. And that, in itself, is not withdrawal, it's growth. We've earned the right to set boundaries, to say no without guilt, and to create space where only what truly nourishes us is allowed in. The richness of life, we come to understand, doesn't lie in the number of people we surround ourselves with. It's found in those moments of meaningful, heartfelt conversation and in the peaceful solitude that allows us to reconnect with our truest selves. There is a quiet strength in this, an unshakable sense of self that comes from knowing when to embrace the world and when to protect the inner peace we've worked so hard to cultivate. Number 3 is the sense that people don't get you anymore. There comes a moment in life, a moment that is both subtle and profound, when you look around and realize that the world has shifted, and so have you. You may not even notice it at first, but gradually, the things that once felt familiar, comforting, and easy become unfamiliar and foreign. The slang that once made you laugh now feels like a language you don't quite understand. The beliefs that once felt in sync with your own seem to have evolved into something completely different. And the pace of everything, conversations, expectations, even friendships, feels like it's been turned up to an overwhelming speed. It's like you've been left behind on a train that's speeding away, and you're left standing on the platform, wondering how you got here. In the middle of this ever-changing landscape, a sense of loneliness can start to creep in. It's not necessarily the kind of loneliness that comes from being physically alone, but rather from feeling emotionally adrift, like no one truly sees you, hears you, or even understands where you're coming from. It's a quiet, invisible kind of isolation that happens not because you've done anything wrong, but because people no longer take the time to truly listen, to understand the depth of your experiences. There's a distance between you and others that feels almost unbridgeable. You don't know when it started, but somewhere along the way, the connection that once existed has quietly slipped away. Take, for example, Emma Wilson, a 69-year-old retired schoolteacher who spent decades shaping the minds of young students. She raised 4 children, managed a household, worked full-time, and still found the energy to volunteer. She used to love sharing her stories with her younger relatives, the stories of her life, her struggles, her triumphs, her lessons learned. But now, when she speaks, they smile politely, perhaps nodding as they quickly glance at their phones, their attention distracted. There was no malice in it. There was no intent to hurt her. It was just a slow drift of disconnection, a quiet abandonment of the things that once mattered. The gap that begins as a small fissure over time grows into a deep canyon. What once felt like vibrant conversations now feels like shouting into an empty room. And slowly, you begin to withdraw, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. It's not that you no longer care about them, or that you don't have anything left to offer. It's that being in spaces where you're not truly heard, where your words are swallowed by the void of indifference, starts to feel exhausting. It becomes easier to just retreat. This isn't just about physical isolation. This is about feeling invisible, unseen, and unheard in a world that seems to have forgotten the value of your thoughts and experiences. You can be surrounded by people, but still feel utterly alone. You share something important, something deeply meaningful to you, and they change the subject. You express a concern, and they dismiss it as unimportant or even call you dramatic. Over time, these moments pile up like heavy stones, and before you know it, you begin to believe that silence is simpler. You start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, it's easier to stop speaking, to stop offering your wisdom, to stop reaching out for connection. Because in those moments, you wonder, what's the point? Psychologists call this emotional invalidation, the quiet dismissal of your feelings, not through harsh rejection, but through subtle neglect. It happens in those small, almost unnoticeable ways, over and over again, until you begin to doubt your worth. It's something that affects many older adults more than we realize, and yet, it often goes unspoken, ignored in the rush of daily life. It doesn't make the headlines. It's not the dramatic scene of rejection we often imagine. It's the quiet accumulation of moments that slowly chip away at your confidence in being heard, in being seen. But here's the most important truth. Your thoughts still matter. Your voice still carries meaning. Just because others fail to hear you or see you in the way you deserve doesn't mean you've lost your worth. It simply means you've outgrown certain conversations. And that's okay. Sometimes, the answer isn't to keep pushing, to force your way into spaces where you don't belong. Sometimes, the answer is to step back, to find the people or the places where you don't have to justify yourself. Where simply being there, just being you, is enough. Where someone listens, not just waiting for their turn to speak, but truly hearing you. When those kinds of people are rare, it's natural to step back, guard your energy, and choose your company more carefully. And when you find that safe space, where you don't have to explain, defend, or justify your feelings, it feels like home. In that space, you can breathe easy, knowing that you are known and loved exactly as you are. And that is a gift. One that you should never feel guilty for seeking. So, don't be afraid to retreat, to guard your peace, to choose the solitude that nourishes you. Because in that silence, you find not loneliness, but deep, quiet strength. Number 4 is the of being a burden. As we age, a quiet, almost insidious worry begins to settle deep within us. It's not a fear of sickness, nor is it the dread of death itself. It's the crushing fear of becoming a burden to the people we love most. It's a feeling that's hard to put into words, yet it's impossible to shake. This is the fear of being the one who requires more than what others can give, and it often goes unnoticed, even by ourselves, until it begins to shape our choices. You start to worry about disturbing their busy lives, those lives that already carry so much. You begin to withhold, even when you need help more than ever. You don't want to be a disruption, so you go quiet. You stay in, pushing people away, not because you don't want their company, but because you don't want to be an imposition. It's not about stubbornness or pride. It's about the deepest sense of care and self-respect. You don't want to feel like an extra weight they have to carry, especially when they already have so much on their shoulders. So you start to say no to invitations, not because you've lost interest, but because you can't bear the thought of someone rearranging their life to make room for yours. You feel as though your presence, your needs, will disrupt the delicate balance they've worked so hard to maintain. It's a silent battle, fought in your own heart, where your desires for connection are tempered by the fear that your very existence will become a responsibility. You hold back your concerns, not out of distrust, but because you don't want to add to the growing list of things they need to worry about. So, little by little, your world begins to shrink. The invitations stop, the phone calls lessen, and before you know it, you're isolating yourself to spare them the trouble. Take George Thompson, for example. A 74-year-old widower who once spent every weekend with his daughter's family. As his mobility declined, so did his willingness to accept their invitations. "I don't want them reshaping their lives around me," he would say. "They've got their careers, their children. I'll just be in the way." Even though his family never made him feel like a burden, the overwhelming fear of being a problem overshadowed his desire for connection. This is the strange and painful tension that many older adults experience. The more dependent you become, the more you resist needing others. The more you cherish those connections, the harder it is to ask for help. You've spent a lifetime being the strong one, the one who always had the answers, who people turn to in times of need. To now turn to others for support feels unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable. This fear is deeply rooted in something profoundly human: the desire to be loved freely, without obligation. When you start to feel like your presence might cause inconvenience, stress, or disruption, you begin to withdraw. You'd rather be alone than feel like a weight on someone else's shoulders. And yet, here's the truth that many of us forget. Those who love us genuinely want to be there for us. They may not always know how to show it, and they might stumble in their efforts to make us feel cared for, but their love is not conditional on how self-reliant we are. Your value, your worth, is not determined by how independent you've been or how little you've asked of others. It's based on who you are, on the heart you've shared, the love you've given, and the connections you've nurtured over the years. If the people close to you care about you, your needs will never be seen as a burden. They will be seen as an honor, an opportunity to give back a fraction of the love you've given them. Still, despite this truth, the fear remains. It shapes our actions, our silences, and our reluctance to reach out. And it's a battle we'll continue to fight, even when those who love us are waiting, ready to lift us up, no questions asked. Number 5 is the quiet fading of old relationships. The quiet fading of old relationships, number 5, can often be the hardest to accept because it doesn't come with a dramatic end. It's not the clash of voices or a sharp goodbye, but rather a slow, almost imperceptible drifting apart. People start to walk their separate ways, sometimes not because they want to, but because life pulls them in different directions. Priorities shift, and one day, you wake up and realize that the once familiar faces aren't there anymore. Those regular check-ins, the phone calls that once filled your days, the spontaneous coffee dates or weekend plans, they're gone. It's not always painful, not at first. Sometimes there's a strange sense of peace in the distance. But over time, you notice that something is missing, and that quiet sadness lingers like a shadow. You feel the weight of something you once cherished slipping through your fingers, quietly drifting away. I've found that this process is often more subtle than we think. It's not always something we choose, it just happens, naturally, like the seasons changing without warning. At first, you don't even notice. One day, you're still making time for those friends you once couldn't imagine your life without, and the next, their names aren't as familiar in your daily thoughts. The conversations aren't as frequent, and the moments together are less impactful. You can't always pinpoint when it happened, or why. And it makes you question, was it them? Or was it me? Did we grow apart, or was it simply that life carried us in opposite directions? Take Linda Harris, for example. A 63-year-old woman who once looked forward to her weekly walks with her best friend from high school. At one point, those walks were sacred. Time for connection, reflection, and shared laughs. But over the years, those weekly outings turned into monthly catch-ups, then yearly check-ins, until eventually, they simply stopped. There was no confrontation, no unspoken tension, just a quiet understanding that they had both moved on in different directions. Linda said it best, "We still care about each other, but I think we've said everything we needed to say." And that's the truth for so many of us. Friendships that once felt like lifeblood often fade as we change and grow, no longer in sync with the person we once were or the person we are becoming. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As we age, these transitions become more apparent. We find ourselves surrounded by people who, in some ways, no longer reflect who we've become. And that's not a loss, it's progress. It's a sign that you're evolving, becoming more attuned to who you are and what you need. You begin to value your time and energy more, and with that, you become intentional about who you share it with. It's not about outgrowing others. It's about understanding your own needs on a deeper level. Sometimes, that need is space. Space to breathe, to simply exist without the pressure of being someone you're not, or maintaining relationships that no longer nourish you. Old friends who once lifted your spirits might now feel draining. Conversations that once flowed naturally may now leave you feeling exhausted or misunderstood. And instead of pushing through, you choose distance. Not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. People often say that growing older means losing people. But what they don't say is that, sometimes, letting go is your choice. You decide to create that space because you've realized that being surrounded by people who no longer resonate with you can be more isolating than being alone. So, when you choose distance, it's not because you want to avoid them. It's because you're respecting the shifts within yourself. You've changed, and that's okay. It's a part of life, and it's something to embrace, not mourn. Number 6 is the joy of being on your own. As life unfolds, there comes a profound realization, a turning point when you stop desperately seeking the company of others and start to embrace the deep, healing solitude that once may have seemed daunting or even lonely. This shift isn't born from pain or a void, but from the discovery of something so powerful and freeing that many never find. Your own company is enough. It's a quiet, sacred peace that settles deep within your soul, a peace that lets you breathe freely, without the need to explain yourself, seek validation, or wear the mask of a persona you're not. In solitude, there's no performance, just pure existence. And in that, you find everything you need. For so many years, especially during the hustle of work, family life, and endless commitments, you may have been constantly surrounded by others. The days would blur into each other with meetings, gatherings, and obligations, leaving you with little space to simply pause, to rest, to hear the gentle whispers of your thoughts. But then, one day, when the noise fades and the world around you slows, you find something astonishing, the sound of silence. That silence doesn't feel empty or overwhelming. Instead, it feels like an invitation, a sacred space where you can finally meet yourself, just as you are. That quiet becomes something you guard fiercely, not as a retreat from the world, but as a precious refuge that nourishes your soul. Take Robert Davis, for instance. At 72, Robert was once the life of every party. His house was always filled with guests, his laughter echoing in every room. He was the one people counted on for fun, for connection, for excitement. But now, as he sits on his porch, watching the birds flit through the trees, he finds a joy that far surpasses any gathering. When asked if he ever feels lonely, he smiles, a knowing glint in his eye, and responds, "I've got enough memories in my head to keep me busy for days." It's clear that what Robert has discovered is not loneliness, but something far more precious, peace. A peace that's not fleeting or dependent on the presence of others, but a steady, comforting rhythm that he's found within himself. This shift often leaves others puzzled. They may look at you and worry, questioning whether you're withdrawing because of sadness or isolation. But in truth, what they don't understand is that you're not pulling away from life. You're simply embracing a deeper, quieter connection to it. This is not about loneliness. It's about gaining clarity, about finding joy in the simplest moments. The silence that once might have felt awkward or uncomfortable now holds a sense of comfort and depth. It's not detachment, but insight. It's the understanding that the world doesn't need to be loud to be fulfilling. It's knowing that your peace doesn't require the approval or presence of others. Some of your most profound moments of connection happen in solitude, when you're not trying to impress anyone, but simply being. The older you get, the more you realize that solitude, when chosen, becomes a refuge, not one of escape, but of renewal. It's in these moments of stillness that your thoughts grow, your creativity flourishes, and your truest self finds space to breathe. In a world that so often values noise, action, and external validation, there's deep, unspoken wisdom in embracing the quiet. You come to understand that your peace isn't found in a crowd, but in the absence of it. It's in the stillness where the richness of life truly unfolds, and you learn, often for the first time, that some of the best days are those spent entirely on your own, with nothing but your thoughts, your memories, and the beauty of the world around you. Thank you so much for joining us today and reflecting on the incredible value of solitude and self-discovery. Life has a way of teaching us that true peace comes from within, and sometimes the most profound joy is found in moments of quiet and introspection. As we've seen through Robert's story and the lessons shared, embracing your presence can lead to a life filled with deeper meaning and fulfillment. Now, we want to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned today that you'll bring into your own life? Perhaps it's the importance of quiet reflection, Or maybe it's embracing the peace that solitude can bring. Whatever it is, we'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave your comment, hit the like button, and don't forget to share it with others who might benefit. And of course, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more insightful content just like this. Thank you again for watching. We appreciate you being part of our community.